Last week you got to hear about ideas and correlations to springtime and newness and spring cleaning and looking for the new blossoms in your life, and what things you have to look forward to that are based on what's been created by your behaviors, your decisions, and your intentions in the last couple months. As you closed out a year and moved into this new year, intentionally, you were able to be in a really powerful place of connection and creation, and that gave you the opportunity to really deliver new results into your life. And now is the time to start really considering what are those things that are blossoming and blooming and as a result of your creation. And today you're going to go on a deeper journey in the terms of considering gratitude. You've been able to consider some ideas on gratitude and ways to express gratitude. There's been an opportunity to consider the idea of what is extreme gratitude. Today, the invitation is to consider bringing the idea of extreme gratitude more into a norm. So rather than having an experience that you get to have occasionally that is extreme, bringing the thoughts and ideas around what extreme gratitude is and normalizing that into a daily walk, a daily path, a daily way of experiencing life and expressing life. And to do that, it's very similar to many other things that you'll practice when trying to achieve and become the envisionment of who you are. So gratitude is one of the most powerful energies to own and to capture as a way of moving forward, as a way of pulling lessons from the past and putting them into carrying lessons with us instead of pains. So, making decisions to carry forward a lesson over a story and have something really beautiful to offer the world is a decision, right? Is a decision that can be made in the filter of gratitude. The difference between thinking and planning and looking for an ideal versus just taking the step forward that needs to be taken to find a new baseline, to find a new platform to create to grow from, right? To create that foundation to grow from. And I'm not sure what episode it was that you got to hear that from here on, but it's the most important component that you can have in doing this is this knowing where you're going, having a visceral connection to what you want in the world and what you want out of your life and what you want in your surroundings and your circumstances, and being intentional about how you move forward makes all the difference in the world. And how we move forward, if we use gratitude as a way of creating, it's extremely powerful. In the event of starting something new, it's starting this podcast was a forever example of that. Having the idea to start a podcast or to start recording things for content or to start any thing like it comes with a whole list of things that you want to get right and you want to get advised on, you want to do as best you can and perfect. And the stance that was taken to launch this was, let's get it launched and make the actual doing of the launch the priority. Now, in consideration of some history now of having this being a podcast now with over a year of content of episodes, you can now see and you can consider what would have been different had I made a perfect studio and then 3 months into it been traveling so much more that it was next to impossible to keep up on doing that. And now we've moved into a place where where you get to hear a better audio quality because the equipment that I've invested in is perfect for travel, and I can carry anywhere I go and create the same quality of sounds for your ears and have a just better quality of what I'd like to present as far as standards that I choose. Now, had I made the perfect studio, I might have been attached to all of the things that were there that allowed me to do that, and that could have easily become a reason or an excuse not to move forward. Now, gratitude would help make a shift there, because we can be grateful for the opportunity to learn something new. We can be grateful for the opportunity to have multiple places to do the same thing, to be able to do it in a studio or on the road. So all of these things start taking shape, and we can use this power and this energy of gratitude to get ourselves through different shifts and changes that we go through. But let's go back to this baseline. So the key component is to have a baseline. And the key component to having a baseline is creating this making sure we have this creation of this higher level understanding of where we're going and what we want. You've heard it said time after time after time that makes the today simple. Knowing who we are becoming, who we are in our spirit and our soul, and knowing who we are, and knowing what that looks like in a large time frame of where we're going, helps us simplify the moments and bring everything down to a crisp understanding of who we get to be today that supports that higher level goal. There's lots of things, knowing that I want to have a fit, trim body that's physically flexible enough to play with children and my grandchildren, that allows me to continue doing sports in a fun way, not in a professional way, just in the idea of playing basketball or running, whatever it is I choose to do, canoeing. I want to stay in that condition, and I have a picture in my mind. So adding all of the components of what that looks like helps me very clearly know what I want my nutrition to be today to support that. Now, also knowing that I don't want to live a restricted life that to me would be miserable, where I only get certain things and I can never eat something else, helps me also isolate down to temporary changes I might make that make all the difference in the world to creating what I'm looking for as the new foundation to live. So building on those blocks, keeping the highest overarching goal in mind, simplifies what I might do today and the type of support, the type of advice I'm looking for. When all I want to do is lose weight, I'll listen to anybody that helps me lose weight, but that doesn't help me do all the right things to get where we want to go. So if you want to lose weight, there's a lot of advice out there. There's a lot of things. If you want to get in a certain level of conditioning so that you can do whatever it is you want to do, so you can behave, you can do the projects or the fun, whatever it is that you want to do. If you want to have the kind of life, then that will change where you get advice from. And it will change the steps you take to get where you want to go. Now, that fits across the board with just about anything. So we started this talking about gratitude. So in that framework, because gratitude is like anything else, it changes depending on how we want to utilize that in where we want to go. To have this extreme level of gratitude and live in that, it takes the same effort. It takes the same way of thinking that we're going to do in other things. It's create a baseline, and that baseline might be part of a simple process of having a daily gratitude practice that helps us keep it in our mind, in our mind's eye, and in the front of our thoughts. So if you want to have a consistent thought process that leads into gratitude, having a basic gratitude practice works. In order to make it more of an extreme practice, in order to bring that into our lives more viscerally, we want to engage all the senses. And you want to start thinking about how you might express the gratitude that you're experiencing. Now, it might be an expression using food. It might be an expression using some type of sound, some type of audio. It might be a song, a meditation. It might be a way you speak in given circumstances. It might be, so an expression of gratitude for kindness in your life would be to be forwardly kind to others in moments where you've experienced kindness when maybe you expected something different. Right? That is an entirely different level of expressing gratitude that includes a full circle, and it also acknowledges the idea that what we put out in the world is what we get back. The words we speak into the world are is how we create. The thoughts help us create. So an extreme expression, an expression of gratitude can help us have that extreme level of gratitude in our life. Now, how do we do that? You can take any process of gratitude, any thought of gratitude, think of one thing right now that you're grateful for, and take a deep breath and just be grateful for that thing. For whatever it is, bring it into your mind's eye and put it in the front of your mind. Make it your focused thought right now. And then breathe into the question of, how can I express this in my life today? Who could I share this gratitude with today? Who could I help experience the experience that has me feeling grateful? Sometimes we can do these things without anyone knowing that that's what we're doing. But in sharing something that brings gratitude into the world, in an acknowledgement of our own gratitude, it brings that into the world around us, not just within us. So as you take a deep breath and think through what it is that you're grateful for and how you might take that forward, you may come up with answers. Answers are downloading to you right now. And take a minute to grab a pen or use notes on your phone and just document really fast what they are. Maybe you can pause and use a voice note and just speak into a voice note what it is that you're thinking so that you can capture it and not lose it. So one form of gratitude, I want to make sure you have some examples. One form of gratitude comes from when we talk about using our senses, and we talk about food and taste. One way to remember a loved one that you're not with or that has passed, a good friend of mine, every year on his father's birthday goes to a restaurant or a Jewish deli where they have salami sandwiches made a certain way, and he asks for that sandwich and he eats that sandwich. And I'm sure every year it hasn't been perfectly on the right day with everything else that happens in life, but at any time that he wants to remember and then be grateful for the times he had sitting with his father and remembering things that were said and that were shared and some of the good times and the laughter, all of that can be brought back with the gift of a sandwich. Now, that takes some intention. It's not that difficult, but we can really breathe into that and be mindful and in the moment with that and really bring something forward. Now, it might be the way someone smelled or the way a fragrance that you smelled when you were with someone. Maybe you were used to going on walks with someone and you can remember them when you smell the fresh blooms of marigold, like what you heard about last week or saw some of the photos of the new marigold blooms. So those have an amazingly fragrant, beautiful smell, and maybe that brings back some type of memory. Maybe you could anchor that, right? So that you have an opportunity to anchor certain things that way as well. And if you have questions on that, DM me. I can help you with some practices that will help you anchor different things to something you're grateful for. So it might be a way of, we mentioned a little bit about a way of talking to someone, the way of speaking to someone using a specific tone. It might also be sharing a story or helping somebody see the gift of gratitude that might be present in whatever it is that they're going through or what they're dealing with. Now, we don't always see gratitude when we're under stress, right? So when you're under stress, you might not immediately fall into this space of, oh, I can just be grateful now. There's other emotions that are happening. So remember that these emotions are delivery mechanisms. That the emotions are delivering a message for you to be able to learn something, to know what you need to know to be able to move forward and take a lesson. The more emotion we have without trying to take a lesson from it, there's an opportunity to still need to learn. The better we do at taking a lesson from something, the less we have to go back and revisit and learn the same lesson. So you can practice pulling lessons when you're having emotion, and of course give yourself time to lean into that emotion to feel what you need to feel for your process to feel able to move on. What happens over time in this practice, right? It's a practice, is that there's an improvement on our ability to connect things. And if you're like me, where there were a lot of attachments to stories, if you come out of a background of always thinking through the stories of things that happened and ways to circumvent the negativity, and all of those focuses are on something we don't want, and it being true that as we speak and think, we're creating with the words we're using, then simply, if we're thinking and speaking about the stories and the negativity, then we are recreating some of that negativity in one way or the other, whether it's through the emotion or through the realization of it in a different circumstance or situation. And the process we can go through, which gratitude can help with, it does, should you choose to use it, does allow you to bypass some of those challenges and get closer to the lesson. Now, when I say bypass, we don't want to use spiritual bypass. We don't want to use gratitude as a blow-off, like, oh, I can just be grateful for it. Certainly, you can do that if that's your choice. But the idea here is to practice it enough that it becomes a natural occurrence. It becomes automated more than the retelling of a story that's harmful. By practicing, we can watch for change. By creating a new baseline and give ourselves the grace, give yourself the grace to feel what you need to feel, and practice bringing in new idea, new thought, and ask yourself, what are the lessons that this is meant to teach me, that these emotions are meant to teach me, that should I learn, I can move forward into something new. And I may not have to learn this lesson again. I may not have to feel this way again or this situation again. What is that lesson? Or what are those lessons? And by putting gratitude towards those lessons, we can start moving away. So it's in the practice of it. This is not about perfection. It's about creating a new baseline to grow from. So that is the thoughts today on gratitude. I'm dedicating this episode to my dear friend who passed yesterday. His name is Stuart Grant. And one of the things, you may have a dear friend in your life that is an encouragement partner, is someone that really, that you support each other in being better people, in being kinder, in thinking through ways of making a better impact on the people around you. That was who Stuart was for me. And may we continue to find that space in our minds and in the thoughts that I have. But there's so many lessons that came from our relationship, and one of them was creative ways to continue to use gratitude. And after last week's episode about newness and spring, I just feel there's no better time to talk about this. So love those that are around you, love those that you know you love, and continue to move forward with gratitude in your life. Until next time. Thank you for joining us for another amazing episode of The Point with me, Jeff Spikes. The greatest compliment you could give me is liking, loving, and sharing this episode with all your friends. So please, if you're on Spotify, iHeart, or iTunes, leave a 5-star rating and review. If you're on YouTube, like and subscribe. Make sure to tag me. I love hearing from you, the listeners of this show. The links for all my social and iTunes are in the show notes. Also, if you'd like to engage with me in anything related to my coaching, consulting, speaking, or programs, please visit jeffspikes.com for everything you would need to know to engage with me offline. And lastly, thank you for your time, your attention, and your consideration. This is The Point.